Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our last of this year FICO Open Access for credit and financial counseling agencies. We're so excited that you can be a part of this. My name is Cora Fulmore. I am the director and owner of Diversified Resource Network. And I can't tell you how excited I am about having Gigi Liggins on the call with us today to share with us all of the information that that she has to share about FICO and open access. Now, you guys, you have to listen up. Please get your pencil and paper handy because there's a lot of information that Gigi will share. And you know what? I'm just going to be honest with you. She talks pretty fast, okay? So be ready to start. Sorry, Gigi, to put you out on Front Street. So please be ready to start taking notes. Now, we have provided handouts of today's presentation. So in the handouts section, there are 5 handouts, a copy of the actual PowerPoint that's there. It's entitled FICO Score Open Access. That's available to you. It's the second link down that's under the handout section. But we will also send this out to you in a follow-up email. So if by any chance you're not able to download, don't worry, we will send that out to you. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Gigi. And if you've got questions, please use the question box. We will not answer the questions until the end of today's session. So stay on the line because you'll actually be able to hear your question asked and answered by Gigi. At this point, I'm turning it over to Gigi. Gigi, are you there?
I am. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. As Ms. Cora shared, my name is Gigi Liggins, and I'm a senior consultant on the scores team here at FICO. I presently am managing the FICO Score Open Access for Credit and Financial Counseling program, and I am really excited to share more information about this program to this audience and hope that if you have not yet partnered with us, that by the end of my presentation, you are very curious and hopefully getting started with the next steps to become a partner. All right, so let's get started. Awesome. So today we're going to talk a little bit about FICO, the company. I usually guess that most of this audience is well aware of FICO and what we do, but a little background is always good. We're also going to talk about what is the program and what do we do. We're going to talk about some of the materials that the program provides to our partner organizations, some benefits that we've heard about over the last almost 8 years since the program has been launched, and then how you can get started in becoming a partner. Okay. All right. There we are. So FICO was founded in 1956, but and when we did launch FICO as a corporation, we really were pioneers in the analytic solutions and credit scoring space. But about 30 years ago, we launched the FICO score as most people know it today. FICO scores are used by 90% of the top U.S. lenders. And given kind of their use in that space, FICO definitely tries to do our part in increasing and improving consumer financial literacy. And we do that and have done that through a myriad of programs, but the one that we're going to talk about today is called the Open Access Program. The Open Access Program was launched about 8 years ago, and it enables lenders to share the scores that they use typically for account management and risk review. It allows them to share that score with their customers. So it's a secondary use license. To date, the FICO score now is in millions of consumer accounts. And at the same time that we launched the standard kind of open access program for that lending population, we also launched the FICO Score Open Access program for Credit and Financial Counselors, which is a program for you. And you don't pull batch FICO scores like a lender, but you definitely pull a credit report and a FICO score for the purpose of education and counseling. And so we know that you are so important to our efforts in improving financial literacy. So we want to make sure that you too have this license in addition to some other education materials and content and webinars, which we host to really help provide value in this relationship and help improve, consumers' access in reaching their financial goals. All right, so in a nutshell, the Open Access for Credit and Financial Counseling program is a program that enables organizations who are purchasing FICO scores, usually through the credit report, right, to share that score with your client. So if you've never taken the time or perhaps never have seen the agreement that you have with your bureau partners or resellers, then you may not know that that agreement does not give you the license to share the FICO score. It may give you the license to share the credit report, but it doesn't give you the license to share the FICO score. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? For you to have a really impactful counseling session, that consumer wants to know their FICO score. So this license gives you the permission to do that. And that's why it was created, right? We know people need to know what their FICO score is. So it includes the FICO score, but also when you receive that credit report, you will get back with it up to 5 reason codes or score factors. And it's the first 2 that are having the largest impact on that FICO score at that time. So those are included in the program. And I'll explain more about what that means in a few slides forward. In addition to that, we wrap around this program educational content for both your counseling team and your clients. So that is what the Open Access program is. It has kind of like 3 key components. It has the score, it has the top 2 score factors, and it has education. And if you haven't noticed, in the bottom right, there's a little asterisk that says there's no additional fees. And so I'm going to plant that seed now, and we're going to watch that plant grow throughout this presentation, that there are no additional fees for this program from FICO. All right. So some of the program materials that our partners are provided are counselor reference materials. So this is like how to get into our FICO Analytic Cloud environment, how to download the program resources. We send guides on how to very quickly get started. I also created little mini micro trainings that you have access to once you're logged into our cloud environment. You have a question and answer document that's generally about the program and how to access tools. And then the real meat and potatoes of the program is the FICO score summary report generator. And I'm going to show you that right now. All right, so you receive a credit report, and it's going to have the FICO score, and it's going to have up to 5 reason codes. But those reason codes just come with reason statements. So kind of this general statement of what is impacting the FICO score at that time. Well, the FICO score summary report generator tool is designed to translate those reason codes and deliver to you a more detailed or description of what is impacting your client's FICO score at that time. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you see what we call the counselor input page. Now, before I go any further, I want to point out this is done with an Excel spreadsheet. So you will not need any additional software access to run this program. You just need Excel, okay? So on the left, you see the counselor input page. That would be the first worksheet in the workbook. You will select which bureau your organization uses. You'll put your client's name in the customer name box. I'm going to point it out right there. You will enter the 3-digit FICO score that was returned with that credit report that you received from your bureau partner. or reseller, you will put the date of the score pull. The date of the score pull is really important. I am sure as professionals in this space, clients have asked you, why is my FICO score different from one place to the next? And typically the number one reason is because of the date, the bureau it was pulled on, and the version of the score that entity is sharing, right? Maybe their bank. So you'll also put the first reason code. So that's the first code that was returned. You'll put the second reason code, and then you'll select the score version. So I think that's really important. As I've been working in this program for 3 years as a manager in the CNFC side, I find that a lot of organizations may not know which version they're sharing. So it is important to know that, because you're going to want to select the right version. Do know that this spreadsheet, the latest version of this spreadsheet, does include FICO score 10 and 10T if that happens to be a score that your organization is using. Then in step 3, you will see where you will put your organization's name and then your name as the counselor. Then you're simply going to pop over to the right hand, well, it would be the second tab in the workbook, and out pops a beautiful document which you can print or save and share with your client. And what you see in this document is what we call the FICO score lockup. Over on the right, the information that you entered that pertains to the date of the score pull, the date that you're actually providing this document, the score version that it's using, the bureau, and a rating shows over on the right-hand side. And then down below are the key factors or the reason codes, right? But they're translated. So now, where normally you as a counselor on the credit report alone would just see number of accounts with delinquency, you now get a detailed explanation of what that means, in addition to what we call keep in mind text. I like to think of keep in mind text as like adding a little bit of context about what that reason code is. FICO's never prescriptive, right? So we don't tell people exactly what to do because every situation is unique. But the keep in mind text just kind of says, hey, this is what you really need to do. Okay, pay your bills on time, or generally people who remain current, will appear less risky. So that's what we call the keep in mind text. Then on the lower portion of the page, there's information on where they can find more education about the FICO score. And you'll also see at the very bottom that it'll have your organization's name and your counselor's name. A couple of things I want to note before we go to the next slide is this right here is a rating. If you happen to work with a population that is really doing a lot of recovery work on, say, their financial profile and their FICO score is lower, and you don't want the rating to show poor, which is where it would fall if you're in the lower kind of portion, lower range of a FICO score, there is a worksheet that you can populate that does not have a rating. So we got that feedback a couple of years ago, maybe a year or so ago, and said, hey, maybe we can create this where they don't need to see the rating. It really doesn't matter anyway. But when your clients are starting to really kind of move the needle and drive their score in a positive direction, you may want to bring the rating back, because that green or that kind of excellent or good really does kind of confirm that they're doing what you've probably coached them to do. They're making strides and meeting their goals. So the next slide, which we're also excited about, is that this output is also available in Spanish. So if you have or you serve a population of Spanish-speaking individuals, the input is always in English, but there is the option to create the output, so the report, in Spanish. Okay, and the Spanish version also has the ability to include or not include the ratings. So you may be wondering, and I'm going to go back a slide, well, I see the credit report, I see all their trade lines, what's the big deal about you kind of summarizing the top 2 reason codes? And Cora always points this out, and I like this analogy. I think as counselors, you're probably looking at the trade lines and maybe diving right into the accounts and trade lines. But this is telling you exactly what is impacting the FICO score at that time. And so those reason codes are going to help you understand maybe a little bit more specifically the behaviors that you may want to coach your clients to work on right now. Okay? So that to me is like a big nugget, that this really does help you see deeper into what's going on in their financial profile and provide a maybe clearer coaching for how they can achieve their goals. Right, let's see. So again, this is in Spanish. All right, so here are some of the reference materials and documents that are really good resources for not only your coaches or counselors, but also that you can give directly to your clients. So there's a document called Basic Facts About FICO Scores. It's about a 1.5-page document that you can print and use. And it is translated in Spanish and it's available in English as well. There is also a suite of videos. Now, these videos I think are pretty cool if you like to have other mediums for explaining, what goes into a FICO score or how to manage a FICO score. Then the videos, are really popular. It really just depends on your audience, but you can embed these videos on your website. You can send them out via email. Once you are a partner, you have permission to use these resources. Additionally, we make sure you have access to some educational documents, which are really good resources. My favorite is frequently asked questions about FICO scores. That is almost a 20-page document that is all of the frequently asked questions about FICO scores. So and the answers are directly from FICO. So you can print this, save it as a desk reference. If someone says, hey, how does bankruptcy impact my FICO score? Or what about, student loans? Though there are answers in this document that you can share directly with your client, and you don't have to do the Google search, right? You're able to get the answers directly from FICO. So I think it's a really great resource. Now you can access both of these resources right now by visiting ficoscore.com/info. These resources are not partner only. They are available to the general public, but I still think that the frequently asked questions about FICO score is really, really a great resource. Understanding FICO scores goes a little bit more into, I think, some of the ranges of the ratings. I think it shares a little bit more information about the various versions. And the website, ficoscore.com, just general, also talks about where you can find FICO scores. And we recently just did an audit to make sure that all of our current partners, we have grown so much over the past 8 years, are listed there. So once you're a partner, we'll ask for your logo and we'll make sure you're now on our website on where to find FICO scores. So I think that's a really good value add for our partners. Lastly, there is an e-learning course. If you happen to have folks on your team who are kind of new to credit or credit education, it could be a baseline resource. I think most of our organizations know more than this course provides, but it's a tool that we do make available to you. You guys are really the experts in this space because you're counseling folks day in and day out on how to reach their financial goals. All right, so here are some of the things that we have heard from our current organizations over the last couple of years. I think many of us are familiar with the experience of a client maybe getting a FICO score from somewhere online and then believing it is one number and going to apply for a loan or a car, whatever, and finding out that the FICO score is much different. through this program, you're able to say, no, client, I'm sharing a FICO score with you, not just a credit score, a FICO score. And that's really valuable because it's going to be much more in line with what a lender is using, because remember, they're used by 90% of lenders, okay? Additionally, there's some research done by Sally May, and I believe it's publicly available. But once people start really having kind of access to their FICO score, that they're seeing improvement in their financial behavior, and subsequently we're seeing improvement in FICO scores. And so, in certain populations, just, nominal improvement in a FICO score could translate into big improvements in interest rates. And so one organization shared that they have people who they were helping them refinance high interest auto loans, because dollars matter. And if they can save, 50 to $100, that adds up. And can have a big deal, or they can apply it to something else that's part of reaching their financial goals and objectives. So if we can translate this program into real dollars and cents for your clients, I'm excited to do that, especially considering there's no additional fee to become a FICO Score Open Access for Credit and Financial Counseling partner. Also, another really cool tool of the program or benefit is that it helps you measure the effectiveness of your program. We have heard that there are some organizations who are funded and they need to provide evaluation metrics to their funders. Through our license agreement, you are allowed to share aggregate client data. So you're not allowed to share, personal one-to-one data to a funder or anyone aside from the client. But if you're looking at a population and you're, counseling hundreds of people a year or 50 people a year, and you want to kind of measure the effectiveness of your approach or your programs, the FICO score can be a quantitative way to do that. And so not only will you have aggregate data to see that, but some of our clients have reported that they've seen 70% improve their scores just in 6 months. So this is another really good benefit to help you measure the effectiveness of your programs. And also, it's a really good tool to get people to stay connected, because it's like a grade. I hate to say that, but it's something they can see, right? I'm doing the behaviors, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. The FICO score can become kind of that tangible, okay, I see movement. I'm feeling good about the way this is going. And then again, this is just kind of an extension of that customer retention. Having that kind of 6-month check-in, or, let's see how what we just did or some changes you've made are impacting your FICO score. This is a great tool to use to do that. All right, so I hope by now you are interested in, okay, this is a program for our organization, and I've heard her say twice now that there's no additional fees from FICO, so I'm listening. So perfect. If I've gotten you to that space, I'm really excited. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your organization is eligible. I know that Diversified Resource Network has a large or a diversified network of participants, but for this program, we do ask that you are a nonprofit. You have to be a 501c3 or a government agency. I know your 501 is a little different. You also do need to have a primary purpose of providing counseling or educational services. So if we do have organizations who work with populations who are maybe domestic violence or other types of kind of human service work, but in that they do kind of like financial literacy, that qualifies. You do not have to only be a financial counseling program, but it does need to be a program that you offer. You also will have to have an active end user agreement with one of the bureaus or through a reseller for the purpose of Equifax or TransUnion. So there is no additional fee from FICO for this, but to get a credit report, as FICO does not have consumer data and is not a distributor of consumer data, you do have to get that credit report and that FICO score from your bureau or reseller. If you are a housing agency and you commonly pull maybe a tri-merge or more than one FICO score, you will have to select one for the purpose of the program, but you can continue obviously to pull what you pull. It's just when you look back at that FICO score generator summary report, it only supports one version. And so whichever version I think you start with, would you want to stay consistent if you're doing kind of, quarterly or semi-annually check-ins, because, there's subtle differences by bureau, and so you want to make sure you're using the same version at each time, okay? And then lastly, we want to make sure you're not a credit repair organization, okay? So primary purpose, or have a program that provides financial counseling or financial education. You have an active end user agreement with a bureau or a reseller. You are a 501c3 or a government agency, and you are not considered a credit repair organization. Okay, when you decide to move forward, you're going to first visit our webpage, and the details are coming. But in that webpage, you're going to be able to immediately access the program application and questionnaire, along with the program license agreement. And I just want to go over a few things that the license agreement does do for you. The first is it grants you the license to share FICO scores with the clients, okay? The second is it also it gives you the ability and provides the guidelines for how you can use our branding and content. All of the information shared a few slides ago. What it does not do is alter your existing agreement with the Bureau or alter how you pull FICO scores, nor does it give you the right to provide a copy of those credit reports to your clients. You may have that right, but it would not be in our agreement. It would be in the agreement that you have with your bureau partner or your reseller. Our agreement is very narrow to the FICO score. So it gives you the ability to share FICO scores with your clients, but not the ability to share the full credit report. That license comes from your bureau partner or your reseller, okay? And then again, it does not usually impact any of those current agreements. And again, no additional charge fees from FICO. So if you've got all of these things in place already, you're just signing our program license agreement and you're ready to go. There's no additional charges, okay? If you happen to be an Experian user, then you may have to do an amendment to their agreement, but other than that, that's it. All right, so once you complete the program application and the license agreement, you'll submit that information and we'll begin the processing. Once the processing is done, you are free to use the generator tool and start providing those FICO scores to your clients. You'll get access to the summary report generator. You'll get access to the resources, including the basic facts. And there's one more requirement of the program, which is called quarterly reporting. It helps us to measure our effectiveness, right, and our reach. We've got goals. We've got financial literacy and inclusion goals, and we know that this program helps to meet those goals. So once a quarter, you'll get an email reminding you, hey, don't forget to share with us how many FICO scores you've shared and any feedback you have about the program, because that's how we know what you need and how we can support you. It's nothing complicated. You go into a SurveyMonkey. You'll just select which quarter you're reporting for, your organization, and then the number of scores you shared. So we do hope that you guys are tracking how many scores you're sharing. That's typically how many appointments you're doing or how many credit reports you're pulling, but we will need that information on a quarterly basis. Okay, and then there's a space in that report where you can just share some insights. So, that's how we learned that we wanted to remove the ratings, because some organizations are working with folks who are really rebuilding. And so if there's anything else that you're seeing, or if you're just like, we love stories of success. So if you have a client that's like just rocking and rolling, share that with us, because we pass that along, and it really helps us keep the program funded and working for you. All right, so okay, I hope that you're like super interested and you're like, okay, what do I do again to get started? One, make sure you meet the eligibility guidelines. Two, you want to sign the program license agreement and the application, and you send it back. Three, you will download the resources, make sure you're all set up, and then you want to inform your staff and counselors. I am happy to provide trainings to your organization. So if you're on the line, you think this is great, but you don't want to retell the story, you reach out to us, and there will be an email address coming, and say, hey, we're ready to get started. Can we just do a quick training so everyone's on the same page about what the program is, how to use it, and then how to use the generator tool? We are happy to support you in that way. And I have many organizations who take advantage of that. So please don't feel like you have to figure this out on your own. You have someone here to help you get started, okay? And then start sharing those scores and those materials, right? You are grassroots, you're on the ground, you're getting the information out, and what you do changes lives. So use the program. We sometimes find that organizations will sign up for it and not know, all the counselors not know that they have access to it. So make sure you spread the message and use the program. So if you're curious, we have now over 154 organizations that have partnered with us. You are in good company. Here are just some of the organizations, and if you visit FICOscore.com, you can, and where to find, you'll see many more organizations that are partnered. If you happen to be a partner already and you want to make sure your logo is there, go ahead and check it out. And if not, send us an email. There's going to be an email address here at the end. We did do a push over the last couple of months, just asking organizations, hey, if your logo has changed or you want to make sure you're there, send it back. So if by any chance we happen to have some partners on already, go ahead and feel free to check out where to get FICO scores on FICOscore.com. So there's a few more slides, and then I'll pop back to this one. I just want you to know, so if you're curious or you're not someone who presently has access to your FICO score through your lender, I want you to feel really confident that your program looks very similar to the ones that lenders provide through their accounts. And so here is an example of the output, or what the display usually is built in a traditional, maybe checking or online banking environment. It looks very similar to the summary report generator, and that's on purpose because this is a FICO score, and we want clients to know, if I get it from my bank or if I get it from my organization or my counselor, that this is a FICO score. The scores may be different because of the version and the dates and the data that it's being pulled on, but it is a FICO score. You're going to see the top two reason codes. Lenders can integrate the meter, but you have the rating, which is kind of the same information, just disclosed a little differently. And some lenders also display a history chart, okay? So your program is very, very closely aligned. The difference, you don't buy batch scores, you buy them as on demand for education and counseling. And so, we want to make this really easy for you to do, so it's an Excel spreadsheet as opposed to building an online banking display page. All right, and this is just some ideas of what it looks like in some lenders' mobile banking environments. So I'm going to go back and make sure you have access to where to get the application and program license agreement. You can visit this web address, community.fico.com/s, then /open access CFC. And then if you have any direct questions, you can email this email address, and it'll go to our program inbox, and someone will follow up with you pretty quickly, okay? no, this one, yeah. So this one, my email address isn't there, but start there. It comes to me, and if not me, someone else in the program will be able to answer your questions or help you to get started. All right. And this is also where you would submit your program application and your license agreement. So that completes my presentation. I hope you've got questions. I'm eager to answer them. Cora, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Gigi. Yeah, the questions are there, and I'm going to encourage all of you to please, if you've got questions for Gigi, please go ahead and start typing into the question box. Right now, we've got a little over 170 people on the call, and so if you've got questions, any questions regarding open access, please start typing in, because she's agreed to hang out with us for a few minutes and try to address all of your questions. So start typing in. Let me just say this, Gigi, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, the information that you provided us with. This is very valuable to my membership base. And I am so excited for the number of people who are on the call right now who have had the opportunity to hear your presentation about open access. You know, I found out about open access a few years ago and couldn't get to the right people to help me find out more about how this program works and how I could assist the nonprofits that I work with, the banks, the local government, and all of these, our membership base, over 5,000, how I could get this information to them. And we stumbled across the opportunity to be able to partner with FICO about a little over a year ago. And we've been blessed with you guys sharing so much information from FICO fundamentals, Score a Better Future, and also open access. So for those nonprofits that are on the call right now, nonprofits, local government, I want to stress to you, if you've not had an opportunity to partner with FICO, here's an opportunity to do so. If you've not had an opportunity to do the open access, here's that opportunity. And you know what? I think for me, it is so rewarding to be able to say that we've got this relationship and we're able to share our logo on FICO's page and FICO's logo on our page. And so that just makes a lot of sense to me from a business standpoint. So Gigi, I've got questions and I'm going to start perusing through the question box to open it up and see what people are asking, so that we can let you know. Okay. Will all the
Sure.
resources?
Before you, just quickly, if you
Yeah.
are a CDFI on the line, if someone who is not a traditional or you are a lending organization and you're interested in the standard open access program, please send an email to that email address and we will point you in the direction for that as well. So there, you can get information on both programs. The program I presented is for nonprofit or government agencies, but if you are, say, a credit union or a community, a small CDFI, then you may call. We have a few organizations in our group that are both, that they have kind of the lending as a CDFI and they have the nonprofit, and so they get to do both sides. So just send an email and I'll make sure to get you information on the other program for standard lenders. Okay. Sorry to cut you off, Cora. Please.
That's okay. That's okay. All right, guys. So go ahead and start adding in your questions. We've got a few questions there. But Gigi, let me ask you a question or make a statement. I want to make sure I heard you clearly. You did say this is free, free, right? I just want to
I
make sure.
did. I hope I watered that seed enough. This program has no additional fees from FICO. So we know that our nonprofit organizations, and this is the same for regular lenders, they don't pay for this either. So we just want to make sure you have the license to share the score. consumers need to know what their FICO score is. They need your services even more. So there's no additional fee from FICO for this program. You do have to have an agreement with the bureau because that's how you'll get the score and the credit report. But after that, there's nothing else from FICO, no charges, free.
Okay, free, guys. You hear what she said. And it's also free. Once they sign up to become a partner, they can add your logo to their website and you will add their logo to your website. Is that true?
That is true. Now, if you are adding our logo to your website, we want to see where is it and how it's using. So there's a little bit more steps to that, but we do list you on our FICOscore.com where to find FICO scores. So that page, the top portion of that web page has lenders. The lower portion of that web page has all of the not-for-profit organizations who have partnered with us. And then we hyperlink that back to your website.
Really? Okay. Okay. Now that's really good to hear. Here's a question that came out. How can nonprofits be added to your list of webinars? They're really interested in learning more information because this is not a training class that we're doing today, guys. All we're doing is giving you information about open access, but how can nonprofits be added to your list of webinars? You mentioned something about that.
Yes, so we try to make some of the webinars available for our credit and financial counseling partners for partners only. So step one, you want to make sure that you're a partner. After that, then when you are in the FICO Analytic Cloud environment, you can see all of the different, and I think you actually don't have to log in, but you can see all of the webinars that we are hosting. And the one that I think most counselors find really, really valuable is a webinar called Demystifying FICO Scores for Credit and Financial Counselors. This is a 1-hour training, and it really teaches about the 5 categories of predictive characteristics. It talks about how we build a scorecard. It talks about some of the minimum scoring criteria. It talks about some of the things we're doing for alternative data. It's a really good webinar. I launched it in 2020, and it runs about 6 times a year. But once you're a partner, and also we started a newsletter in 2021, and then at the end of that newsletter, we'll have like upcoming events. So if you're a partner, you're going to get our newsletter, which comes out about once a quarter. You'll get reminders about things like our upcoming webinars. The next one for partners, Demystifying FICO Scores, I believe is November, let me check. No, December 8th. So jot that down. And what I'll do, Cora, is send you that link. And you can send it out. Just know you will only be approved to register if you're a partner. So that gives you plenty of time to sign up if you're not.
Okay.
But it's a really good webinar, and I like them because you get to ask questions, and we tend to have smaller groups, so it becomes like a really fluid discussion. But I like that webinar, and then also you'll start to get our newsletter.
Okay. Here's a question from the question box. Must a second credit report be pulled at the 6-month review period, or does the program access the second score without running a second credit report?
Whether you pull a second credit report and FICO score is completely up to your organization. That is like a general kind of example of another organization's process, but it's not something that you have to do. And the second part of that question is, does it automatically update? And the answer is no. Keep in mind that we're not running any software to execute this program. We're just going to give you an Excel spreadsheet that you will download to your system and then transfer the data that you get from that credit report into this Excel spreadsheet. And then the spreadsheet kind of has some rules and some things in there that kind of translate it. So there's no ability for that spreadsheet to kind of speak back to any software, not to mention that FICO doesn't own consumer data, right? We are a scoring provider. We create the algorithm that scores the data, but the data comes from the Bureau. So there's no kind of way for us to update that. But whether or not your organization updates the score or the frequency of your score updates is completely up to you. For the standard program, the lenders have a little bit different rules, but for our not-for-profit partners, if you just do this once, that's completely kind of up to your organization. Or if you have a business standard where you do it quarterly or every 6 months, also completely up to your organization.
Okay, so we've got a couple of people here on the call that are already saying, I am definitely interested. Where do I sign up? And you've already given us the email address for signing up to get the information. And a lot of people are still asking the question, what is the cost to start the program? And I'm going to say it one more time because Gigi has already said it. It's free, folks. It is totally free. Really excited about that. Here's another question. Does this work with Credco? I'm using the Credco report. Does it work with Credco?
It does, as long as the Credco report returns a FICO score. So if you're using Credco and you're getting more than one FICO score based on different bureaus, so like Equifax, Experian, or a TU, you will need to pick one for the generator. And I'm gonna, I don't know if I still have control, but I'm gonna go back and try to share the generator tool just so this explanation makes sense. Let's see here. Sorry. I think we're almost there. Okay, so when you as a counselor are using the input tool, the input page, right here it says click drop down to select your score version. You're only able to select one version, and up here when it says select your CRA or your bureau, you're only able to select one version. So even though you may be receiving multiple different versions, you need to choose one for the purpose of the program. And we'll also ask you to clarify that on your application. Now, you can continue, of course, to review or talk about them, but this license is going to give you the ability to share the one that you've selected. It's not designed to translate multiple scores or multiple versions. It's designed to translate one, so you pick which one you think that is. Then if you do happen to have a business standard that revisits the score, say in 3 to 6 months, I would just recommend that you are using the same score version each time. So the same bureau and the same version so that you're comparing apples to apples.
That's good because I'm in Orlando and we've used Credco in the past, and we would do a tri-merge report with all three bureaus. But I know that in Orlando, Equifax is the major provider in my area. So that would be the one that I would want to pull. And provide the information on that. So that's good. I'm glad you showed that. Here's a great question here. I am a financial counselor for the Army Transition Assistance Program, but employed by the government as a contractor. Am I eligible for this program to help my soldiers with their credit as they transition from active duty to civilian life?
That is a great question, and we're going to find a way to get you eligibility, but it sounds like it's the program that would apply, and then once the program is granted access, then they would extend you as a user, right? So we do not, so we've gotten this kind of question. We know that there are individuals who provide kind of one-to-one credit counseling or coaching, and they're not operating as a nonprofit. Unfortunately, they cannot sign up for this program. The rules of this program are you have to be a not-for-profit or you're going to be a standard lender. And that's really because there's no mechanism for you to have an agreement with the bureaus.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So,
okay.
Right, it does make sense. So if they have a relationship with the bureau, and they do not, because here's another follow-up question from another person. I'm not a 501c3, but I'm not a for-profit either. Am I ineligible for this program?
But you have a relationship with a bureau where you're able to pull credit reports and FICO scores for the purpose of education,
Yeah.
then I would guess that you are. But do not hold me to that. I would recommend that you send me an email, one off,
Mm.
and let us kind of do some digging to make sure. Generally,
Oh,
though, the program eligibility is you're a 501c3. And then if you're not a 501c3 and you have that functionality, then typically you're going to be on the standard side.
mm.
Right? So, because that's kind of how the Bureau sets it up. But send me that and let's take it offline and find out for real how we can
Yeah.
possibly support you.
And I think I think it's important, guys, that you do that. There's a couple of people in here that are asking that particular question. Um, our organization was not a 501c3, but we worked through Freddie Mac, and we were able to pull credit reports through Credco with a nonprofit status that they assigned us, so that our pulls would not impact the individual's credit score, and it was all for educational purposes only. So you may want to let your specific situation be looked upon, individually. Give Gigi the chance to look at it and see if there's a possibility that you can be approved for the program. So thank you all for chiming in. Gigi, I know we only have a few more minutes, but I really want to try and address as much as I can. I've got people on the call right now said, I'm at Gigi's welcome page right now, setting up an account. Do I choose, and I'm going to go to this one real quick and you can answer it quickly. Do I choose marketplace or community? What do I choose, Gigi?
Community.
Okay. All right. Please clarify the difference with us pulling an Equifax credit report in comparison with the FICO score. Now, let me read that again and make sure I'm reading it correctly. Please clarify the difference with us pulling an Equifax credit report in a comparison with the FICO score.
So I'm interpreting that question as though the FICO score can come separate from a credit report, and typically they do not. Not
Okay.
for if you have a relationship with Equifax and they are sending you a credit report, they are also going to be distributing the FICO score along with that. Now, there are ways for consumers to directly access their FICO score separate from a credit report. One way is myfico.com, where they can purchase them. But typically, for nonprofit organizations, if you have an agreement with a reseller or a bureau, you're really trying to pull the credit report, and the FICO score comes as an addition to that and not normally separately.
Okay. All right. Boy, a lot of people are going to your website right now trying to sign up, and they're letting us know in the question box. So thank you guys. Thank you guys. I think it's great. We want you to sign up, and this is free for you. We want to make sure that you have this connection. In the past, nonprofits have not had this amount of access to FICO. We wanted to give you that access, and that's why we felt that it was so important that we, as Diversified Resource Network, form this relationship with FICO so that we can bring this to you as well. We will send you a copy of today's presentation. Don't worry about that. Thank you so much for this great presentation. By adding the FICO score open to our existing agreement, will it allow us to share scores and won't add more fees to the actual fee? I guess I'm not too sure, Felicia, what you're looking for here. If you could rephrase your question. She thinks this is a great presentation, but there's a question. Okay, she's pulling the report right now from CoreLogics, and by adding the FICO score to our existing agreement, will it allow us to share the score and won't add more fees to the actual fee? Is what is being asked. Do you know what
So it
she said?
sounds like, and just if you can confirm, when you get your report now from, who did you say was it?
Core logic.
CoreLogic? Okay.
Mm,
When you get the report now from CoreLogic, does it not include a FICO score?
I guess that's the question. And Felicia, if you're still on the call, let us know. I'm still looking at the questions. We still have a few more minutes. Thank you so much, Gigi. This is fantastic. And the Syracuse Financial Empowerment Center can't wait to get this going. Which
Yay!
organization do you recommend for pulling credit scores? And I know you don't want to, you, you can't tell them what to do,
No.
Gigi, but okay, all right. So I'm going to answer that for you. She can't tell you. Um, can you tell me more about the agreement with the bureaus? Does this cost money to have an agreement with them? And Gigi?
Most likely. um, so that is their job, right? They sell consumer data, and that is their role. Now, we have some telephone numbers to share if that you're new to this part of the process and kind of establishing an agreement. I don't know a lot about it. I do know that there's a fee. I think it's based per poll usually, and depending on whether you buy directly from a bureau or maybe a reseller, there's some other privacy things that are required. So I think they do a really good job, as they should, in making sure that you have the systems in place to make sure that consumer data is kept private. So feel free to send us an email if you're like, hey, can you point me to those resources so that I can check out, and we'll give you the direct numbers to each of the bureaus. We do not give out resources to resellers. And just as Cora just mentioned, we can't make any recommendations. It really depends on your organization and kind of your business goals and needs. But we're happy to share the right contact and contact information for each of the 3 bureaus.
And I will say, earlier we had someone to say they love the simulator or the report that comes out. Can we co-brand this report?
So no, and the reason why is it's not really going to let you. It has a lot of there's only the fields that you're entering data can you edit the report at all. But keep in mind at the bottom, like in this version here, your organization name will be there and your counselor's name. So that's kind of the extent that we allow branding of this particular tool. But you can still use a lot of the other resources on your website, and we're happy to add your organization's logo once you're a partner back on ours.
And Mr. Cofield, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We've brought FICO to you because we feel that it's important. We really appreciate our members, and we really want to bring you the latest and greatest in these type of opportunities. So as a friend would say to me, equalmente, we get as much from you as you give to DRN. So thank you very much. And Gigi, you have been absolutely awesome. I so appreciate the way that you've shared. These guys have asked some really great questions. We couldn't give you everything, Gigi, because time would not permit. And we've made a commitment to those that are on the call that we would end. It would be an hour session. So thank you very much, Gigi, and thank you to the audience for being on the call. We truly appreciate you taking this serious, and you're bringing great information back to the folks that you serve on a daily basis. So thank you so much. And Gigi, you are, as Eileen said, phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting us, and I look forward to doing it again sometime.
Look forward to it. You guys have a wonderful day. Be blessed.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.